On the surface, the Steam Deck news cycle has been pretty bare, and that's leading some to worry that the Steam Deck might be on its way to being delayed again. But on the other hand, Valve has been making some behind the scenes moves that look like they are in fact gearing up to move forward and even thinking beyond the initial launch. That's what I want to talk about in today's video. Let's get into it. It was just a few weeks ago that I made a video where I was encouraged by PC Gamer's interview with Valve, where they told us that they were on track for a February release and in fact expected to keep a steady pace of shipments as they target multiple millions of units sold. But like I said, that was weeks ago. It's normal for the news cycle to dry up during the holiday season, but the Deck Gang would be forgiven for fearing the worst as we approach the month of February. In fact, we are now less than 25 days away, and the initial Steam Deck delay came only 3 weeks removed from the month of December, when the Deck's original release was planned. Ever the optimist though, there is some recent news that continues to give me hope for a February launch. The first piece of news is only Steam Deck adjacent. Starting on the first day of the new year, people started seeing a peculiar Geico ad on Twitch. I believe it showed up on YouTube as well. This Geico commercial placed a renowned gecko in the world of Portal looking for a way out. He asks a presumed shell to help him escape, and that's when GLaDOS chimes in. GLaDOS and the gecko exchange barbs before the gecko ends up falling in an infinite portal loop. It's charming, it's funny, and it's perfect for the demo. But it's also 10 years late. Why is this brand license happening now? We haven't seen a proper new Portal game in years. Unless... No, I'm kidding. I don't actually expect a new Portal. But the timing is fascinating nonetheless, especially given that the Steam Deck marketing has been full of nods to Portal. I can barely count them anymore. There's the Portal-themed Steam Deck during the dev stream, the AMD commercial during the Game Awards that advertised the Steam Deck and included Shell, the Companion Cube during the teardown, and multiple hints in the Steam Deck packaging like here, here, and here. That doesn't mean this commercial is related to the Steam Deck, but it shows as we approach the release of the deck, Valve is marketing themselves. This is exceedingly rare for them, and I don't know why Portal is so key in their marketing efforts. It is possible that they're working on Portal 3 or that they're planning a Portal 2 pack-in sort of deal with the Steam Deck, but it's just as likely, if not more so, that Valve just really likes the Portal franchise and characters. The franchise is beloved and memeable, and the characters are easily adaptable to basically anything. So again, this is noteworthy because Valve is marketing themselves in a way they are not known for as they approach the launch of their costliest and arguably riskiest endeavor. And that leads right into the next story. Though the Steam Deck is not out yet in the initial regions of US, UK, Canada, and the EU, Valve is showing small signs of its plans beyond those regions. First is news of a trademark registration in Japan. During the dev stream, Valve let us know that Australia and Japan were the next regions to be considered, and that they would hopefully have something to share at a later date. They have yet to share anything, but there was a trademark registration for the Steam Deck in Japan that just got published before the year's end. Now, this registration was filed back in July, but it didn't get published until December 28th. This is typical as the process can take months to a full year. You see, I did more research on the subject of Japanese trademarks than I ever expected to do. In any case, I believe we're at this step here. Valve has been granted the trademark, and other companies and corporations can come forward with opposition to this registration if they so choose. And a small detail is that it's not just one trademark, but 3. One for the name Steam Deck, one for the logo with the name, and one for just the logo. I can't say this is a sign of anything substantial, but it's once again encouraging to see that Valve is working towards the launch in Japan that they promised. Presumably this bodes well for Australia as well. I'd like to believe it also means that the initial February launch is on track as well, but I think that would be connecting dots that aren't there. You know, unlike the like button, which is right there. So if you like the video, then like the video. And if you want to keep up with Steam Deck news and things, then hit the subscribe button and slap the bell. Moving on then, aside from Japan, there was a bit of news from South Korea as well. It appears Valve has passed South Korea's KC certification program for some electronic device. Presumably, of course, this device is the Steam Deck itself. Just like with the Japanese trademark process, I did a little digging on the Korean KC certification, and here's what I have. According to SGS.com, quote, electrical and electronic products entering South Korea are subject to KC certification. a mandatory certification scheme which ensures that only products certified by accepted certification bodies can enter the Korean market. End quote. Interestingly, this certification was approved back in late November, but the news didn't make it to the subreddit or any American outlets as far as I can tell, until a Korean YouTube channel published this finding. I'll post a link to that video in the description. Now, as Reddit user Yor42 points out, they can absolutely pass this certification and still never ship to Korea. This is what happened with the Valve Index. However, the intention is good enough for me here. This process isn't exactly trivial, and you have to perform rigorous tests and submit the results to the certification bodies. You do that because you intend to release it in South Korea. The fact that they intended to release the index in Korea and failed should not be discouraging. In fact, I would think that Valve going through this process again means that they've learned a lot of lessons about shipping internationally. Here's a late addition to this video. Yesterday, as I was wrapping this video up, there was a tweet from a YouTuber named ASMR Destiny. In this tweet, they show off a Steam Deck next to some Elgato Stream Decks. I tweeted this picture out because yeah, it looks gorgeous and I'm jealous. But they later deleted the tweet and some people noticed that the select button was different and indicated that this must be a review unit and that it was taken down because of the NDA. Here are some tweets from a Twitter user that goes by Ruffian is Tired that sum it up nicely. They say, quote, "It seems to be a final production unit, which is indicative of it being a review sample. If a relatively smaller channel, especially one which is not specifically a review channel, has acquired one, then I would expect it means that Valve has been generous in shipping them out. This is very good news. It shows Valve is still confident in the product if they are being so overzealous in their distribution, and indicates that the release is still on track." End quote. I would love to have this level of certainty, but at this point, I can't rule out that it's just not a friend's review unit, or that this person wasn't hired by Valve for some photogrammetry, or just anything. It could be anything. But still, this is a new hardware iteration, and we get a nice peek at the UI, so that is extremely exciting. And in the process of researching this video, I ended up on the Valve Index subreddit a lot. I was combing through posts from 2.5 years ago when the Index was about to launch, and boy, did I get a lot of deja vu reading through those old posts. Like, look at this post complaining about the Index not coming to Australia. Or just the anxiety of the silence from Valve in general. Listen to this parody of Sounds of Silence.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. The Index hasn't shipped again. Stereo vision softly creeping. FOV is increasing. And the speakers, centimeters off my ears, still aren't here.
Beautiful, isn't it? And you know what's odd? All of this spelunking of old Reddit threads led me to clicking on the username of a Valve employee that showed up a lot in those threads in the early days of the Index. He goes by The Hung Solo. To my surprise, he had already posted twice in the Steam Deck subreddit. Here's one that had no replies and was sitting at 1 vote before I clicked on it. This is a thread where the OP asks if we're going to get another Steam Deck delay. Hung Solo replies with a simple no. I remember this thread. I remember all the jokes that followed. Magic 8 Ball says ask again later, or it's a PC, so yes. When I saw any post that just said yes or no, I took it as a joke like all the other posts. But here is a presumed Valve employee saying no, there will not be another Steam Deck delay right under our noses. I thought it was pretty funny that this post went unnoticed for this long. So even with the Geico commercial, the news from Japan and Korea, and this post, I don't think I can provide any comforting certainty about the impending launch. But I think that all this news is noteworthy nonetheless. On the other hand, I can say that Valve being quiet is not an aberration, and it's not an indication that there will be a delay. This is precisely how they operate. Even a few weeks out from the Index shipment, they didn't have much to say. And we should expect much of the same here. What do you think? How are you feeling as we get closer to February? Do you think Valve will launch in February? And does that mean late February shipments or what? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. And the last thing I have for this week is this game called Thirsty Suitors being showcased on the Steam Deck. It looks awesome. I love it. It's being published by Annapurna, who is always good for a high quality title. More importantly, it's developed by Outer Loop Games, who made the very well regarded Falcon Age. Thirsty Suitors is apparently an action RPG, but skateboarding takes a front seat in this video. There are a lot of over-the-top animations in this game, there's turn-based combat, and apparently action-packed cooking? I don't know, this game looks weird and great, and I want it, okay? So I don't know about you, but I'm adding it to my wish list. And with that, if you made it this far, you are a real one, and you may have heard this before. Like and subscribe, slap the bell to get notified. Tell a friend it's a vibe. That gang out. Goodbye.